You're listening to The AI Said What, a podcast of original horror stories written entirely by artificial intelligence. No rewrites, no corrections, just raw, unfiltered fiction pulled from the digital void and delivered straight to you. Some stories are strange, some stories are terrifying, and some feel a little too real. New episodes every other Friday. Let us begin. This is It Watches from the Pine Line. The trees began thinning 2 days into the hike. At first, it felt like a relief. Less brush to cut through, more open air, but by the end of the third day, when the pine trunks stood a full 30 feet apart and the canopy broke into bare gray sky, I realized what I was walking through wasn't a clearing. It was a boundary. There were no birds past that point, no insects humming. The air carried a weight that felt misplaced. Not high altitude thinness, but pressure. A held breath, as if the woods themselves were waiting for something. And that night, I made camp just below the ridge. At 2:17 a.m., something screamed. It wasn't close, but it wasn't far either. A long, thin cry. Not wounded, not aggressive, just wrong. Like a child calling for help in a voice that it didn't know how to use. It echoed up the hollow and down through the pine line, and I couldn't tell if it came from above me or beneath the ground. I didn't sleep, and in the morning I found prints. Human at first glance, barefoot, but the stride was wrong. Too long, the depression too deep, the toes too sharp, like hooves pretending. I kept moving. On the fifth day, I found the shed. It stood alone in a sunken part of the ridge, half swallowed by moss and ash. No trail led to it. The door was nailed shut from the outside, and there were scratches on the wood, long, thin, and deep. Not claw marks, not random. They were lines, symbols, some straight, others curved. It didn't look like language, but it didn't look like nothing either. I didn't open the door, and that night I stayed far upwind, built no fire, ate nothing, and still the scream came again. This time, it knew my name, spoken slowly, painfully, like it chewed on the word before spitting it out. Daniel. Once, then nothing. I didn't sleep again, and on the seventh day, I turned back, but the trail was wrong. Deadfalls I didn't remember, a stream running in the opposite direction, the sun rising where it shouldn't. Either I'd gotten turned around, or the land had rearranged itself when I wasn't looking. And that night, I didn't sleep. From exhaustion, not choice, I woke to the smell of meat, cooked, burnt at the edges, something sizzling and fat. My mouth watered before I remembered I hadn't lit a fire. And the scent was coming from just outside the tent. I didn't unzip it. I didn't move. I just listened as something stepped in a slow circle around me. Once, then again, and the third time, it stopped. And then, so close I could hear breath pulling through teeth, it said, "You came alone." Not a question, a fact, and a sentence. And the worst part, the part that made my hands go cold, was that it sounded disappointed. When I finally opened the tent hours later, there was nothing, except for a bone half charred, placed in front of the flap, a human femur, etched with the same lines I'd seen on the shed. I didn't make it back for 3 more days. When I reached the trailhead, there was a man waiting for me, a park ranger. Said he hadn't seen anyone come from that direction in weeks. I asked how long I'd been gone. He checked his clipboard, hesitated, and told me I had been missing for 22 days. I said nothing, and he asked if I had seen the signs, the warnings, the markers nailed to the trees. I said no. He frowned. We put them up every year. After the first frost, same time the calls start coming in. I asked why they bothered if no one listened. He said, "We don't put them up for people." I asked who they were for, and he didn't answer. Just glanced at the pine line behind me and said, "Whatever's out there still thinks the fence is real." Then he returned, to his truck, and drove away. I haven't gone back, but sometimes, in the stillness of my apartment, in the quiet between 2 and 3 a.m., I smell smoke, grease, bone, and something in the dark hums my name. Not calling, not hunting, just waiting.